A drooping tomato, yellow leaves curling at the edges, soil so worn out it crumbles like old ash between the fingers. $200 spent on fertilizer this season, 3 trips to the garden center, and still the plants are dying. But 3 feet below that struggling patch of earth, a plastic bucket and a handful of small red worms can rebuild the entire garden for free in 90 days. No tilling, no turning a heavy compost pile, no back-breaking weekend work. Just a quiet, buried laboratory, doing what nature has done for millions of years, only faster and right under the roots. This is the oddest trash hack in modern gardening, and the gardeners who have tried it rarely go back. Part 1. The invisible crisis beneath our feet. What if the problem was never the plants? For years, the advice has stayed the same. Water more, fertilize more, spray more. And yet the tomatoes stay small, the peppers refuse to fruit, and the green beans sulk in soil that looks healthy but clearly is not. The truth is harder to hear. Modern synthetic fertilizer works on a simple trade-off. Feed the plant now, starve the soil later. The blue crystals and white granules force a burst of growth in a few weeks, but the tiny living creatures that normally recycle nutrients in the ground, the bacteria, the fungi, the earthworms, go quiet. Without them, the next season starts weaker than the last. The season after that, weaker still. The garden slowly forgets how to feed itself. This is not a small problem. The United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization has warned that roughly 1/3 of the world's soils are already moderately or severely degraded. When soil loses its living community, it loses the ability to hold water, hold nutrients, and grow food. It stops being soil, it becomes dirt. Why does no one say this out loud? Because selling healthy soil is hard. Selling a bag of blue crystals that turns a plant green in 48 hours is easy. The logic is economic, not sinister, but the outcome is the same. Gardens everywhere are quietly being fed to death. And here's a thought that makes some lifelong gardeners uncomfortable. The best garden is not the one with the most fertilizer, the most mulch, or the fanciest tools. The best garden is the one that needs the least help from the outside. That is a quiet kind of success, and it is almost the opposite of every gardening commercial teaches. The fix is not in a bottle. It is not on a shelf in the garden center. It is sitting on the kitchen counter, in the coffee filter, in the eggshell, in the peel of last night's banana. Part 2. The quiet wisdom of retro gardening. Before synthetic fertilizer existed, how did any garden feed a family through the winter? The answer lived in every kitchen. Grandparents had no garden center to drive to. They had coffee grounds, they had crushed eggshells, they had the scraps from last night's dinner, the ashes from the wood stove, and the rinse water from the vegetables, and they grew tomatoes that would embarrass anything sitting under the fluorescent lights of a supermarket today. Take the humble eggshell, rinsed, dried, and crushed into a coarse powder. The eggshell delivers calcium carbonate, the same mineral that prevents blossom end rot, that ugly dark patch that ruins so many tomatoes and peppers. Here is the first common mistake. Whole half shells tossed into a bed can take years to break down. Crushed fine, almost to the texture of cornmeal, they release their calcium over a few months. A simple coffee grinder kept just for the garden gets the job done in seconds. Then there are used coffee grounds, and this is where almost every gardening article on the internet gets it wrong. Used coffee grounds are not strongly acidic. The brewing process pulls most of the acid into the cup. What ends up in the filter sits near neutral around pH 6.5 to 6.8, which happens to be close to the ideal pH for a vegetable garden. The real value of coffee grounds is different. They feed the microbes in the soil. They add slow-release nitrogen. They improve texture, but they do not lower soil pH in any meaningful way, no matter how often the internet repeats that myth. The horticulturalist Alan Titchmarsh has used these frugal tricks for more than 50 years. Banana peels, wood ash, nettle water, comfrey leaves, the lot. The Royal Horticultural Society in Britain has documented these kitchen garden methods for generations. None of it is new. Most of it is older than the compost bin itself. But scattered on the surface of the soil, these scraps can only do so much. Rain washes them, ants carry them off, the sun bakes them dry before the microbes get a chance. The real transformation, the kind that turns a failing garden into a working one, only begins when someone decides to bury them. Part 3. The Backyard Alchemy Lab. What happens when the compost pile is moved from the corner of the yard to directly beneath the tomato plants? Everything changes. Most gardeners have tried a traditional compost bin at some point. The problems are obvious. It sits in a sunny corner, smelling in summer. It has to be turned with a pitchfork every few weeks, which becomes almost impossible for anyone past 65 with a bad shoulder or a worn knee. And by the time the compost is finally ready, 6 months later, it has to be hauled in heavy buckets across the yard and spread by hand. There is a much quieter way. It's been used in experimental permaculture gardens for decades, and in some scientific circles, it's called a subsurface bioreactor. That's a complicated name for a very simple idea, a backyard alchemy lab buried right where the plants are growing. The method takes about 10 minutes and costs almost nothing. Start with a food-grade plastic bucket, the 5-gallon kind that bakeries and delis will often give away for free. Drill holes at least ½ an inch wide all around the sides and the bottom. Here's the second common mistake nobody warns about. 1/4-inch holes are too small. Worms cannot easily pass through them, and plant roots have no room to enter. 1/2 an inch minimum. Larger is better. Dig a hole in the center of the bed garden, deep enough that only the top 4 inches of the bucket plus the lid stay above the soil. Drop the bucket in, backfill the earth around it. That's it. The bucket is now a permanent feeding station for every plant within a 3-foot radius. Every evening, kitchen scraps go straight in. Banana peels, used coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, tea bags, carrot tops, apple cores, wilted lettuce. Close the lid and walk away. No turning, no smell because the lid stays shut and the food is below ground. No pests because raccoons and rats cannot reach what's sealed and buried. For gardeners who prefer something beautiful over something practical, an unglazed terracotta pot works even better than plastic. Terracotta is naturally porous. Liquid nutrients, often called leachate or compost tea, seep slowly through the clay walls into the surrounding soil, a quiet drip feed that lasts for weeks on a single filling. 2 stacked terracotta pots, one inverted on top as a lid, become a miniature alchemy tower that can last in the garden for a decade. Here's a small, uncomfortable truth worth mentioning. Most bagged compost sold at the garden center is sterilized. The high-temperature treatment kills weed seeds, yes, but it also kills the vast majority of the living microbes that make real compost work. A buried bucket fed daily with fresh scraps produces something a sealed plastic bag never can. It produces living compost. But the bucket itself is only the structure. What actually eats the scraps, and this is where almost every new convert makes the single biggest mistake, is where the story gets strange.